2018. We'll start with a roll call, please. Ms. Harmon?
Jones Franco.
Here.
Jeff Jar.
Here.
Donald Boynton.
Here.
Brian Kelly.
Here.
Medina Atkinson.
Here.
Sherry Budd.
Here.
Carol Thompson.
Here. Thank you very much. We have an agenda before us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Support.
Commissioner Kelly, support Commissioner Boynton. Any changes or additions to the agenda? All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. We have minutes from the meeting of April 25th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve the April 25th minutes?
So moved.
Commissioner Boynton? Support Commissioner Kelly. Any corrections on the minutes for April 25th, 2018?
Madam Chair, correction to number 4, the site shall be maintained in a clean manner and trash will be properly disposed of
Oh.
instead of property.
Typo.
That's spell check. Great, we'll make sure that's taken care of. Anything else? With the correction, is there a motion to approve the April 25th minutes?
So moved.
Commissioner Kelly, support Commissioner Boynton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. Tonight's agenda under new business, item number 1, the applicant, Constellium, is requesting final site plan approval to construct a 50,551 square foot addition to an existing industrial building and to construct a 20,000 square foot detached accessory building for storage. The property is located at 6331 Schooner Drive, Van Buren Township. It is on the south side of Michigan Avenue, east of Denton Road. We'll start first with a presentation by the applicant.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
We're probably going to need you to stand near the podium so the microphone can pick up your voice and what you're saying.
You want me on tape? Okay, good evening. Wayne Perry with Design Engineering. It's good to be back down here before you. Haven't been here since we were working on the Mazer project, which is just across the road from the one you're gonna look at tonight. I won't go into a lot of details about Constellium. I think you're all probably fairly familiar with their existing facility, seeing as they expanded it last in 2014 and 15. So all of the details about what they do and what they manufacture down there, I think you're familiar with. It's structural aluminum parts for the automobile industry. So Constellium is looking to expand again, a short 3 years later. They want to add approximately 50,500 square feet to the south end of the existing plant. That addition is shown on the site plan submittal set that you have before you. To accomplish that goal, we're going to completely reconstruct the parking lot on the south end of the building, expand it, provide more parking in a different configuration, seeing as the proposed addition is taking over a good chunk of the existing parking lot on the south end. We'll be relocating water main and storm sewer that currently run through where the building's proposed to obviously get those outside of the building enclosure, and adding a accessory structure to the east side of the building, which is the fabric structure that you have on your plans, about 20,000 square feet off the east side, about halfway down the building, and expanding the stormwater management system, obviously to accommodate the increased runoff generated by the improvements. Besides some landscaping, lighting changes, and the usual other site plan amenities, that's the proposal that they're looking to have approved by you this evening. So, fairly straightforward. I'm the civil engineer for the project. Here with me tonight is Carl Vollmer of Pucci Vollmer Architects. He's the project architect so if you have questions about the architecture, we can talk about that as well. Not to, Carl, take all the wind out of your sails here, but the building addition is primarily it's going to match the existing structure. So what was started down there and expanded in 2014 is exactly what the addition is going to look like as well. So with that, if you have questions, we're here to answer any you might have.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I think we'll hear reports from staff and our engineers, and then we'll see if there's any points to be discussed. So we'll go first to Director Akers. Have a recommendation for us to consider?
Yes, thank you. Before you is the recommendation for final site plan approval of the plans for the proposed addition and proposed accessory building for Constellium on Schooner Drive. Before I start going through my review letter, I did want to note that this process differs from what we typically see with a lot of these construction projects. Usually we would go through and see a preliminary site plan approval and then a final site plan approval. Our zoning ordinance does allow for a more accelerated process, so the applicant can, at their own risk, choose to prepare construction drawings in advance of a preliminary approval and just submit for a final approval, which is what Constellium had elected to do. So it is a process that's established in our ordinance. It is an option that some of these businesses have as they move through our development review process. Now, obviously, it's at their own risk because, the preliminary approval is meant as a tool to kind of give some surety with regards to zoning and with regards to the Planning Commission's position on many of the zoning aspects. But with that was the standard that Constellium had elected to move forward with. So I have a letter that I had prepared dated May 4th, 2018. Where I'll go through the standards of the zoning ordinance and discuss the project before you. So the scope of the project is to construct a 50,551 square foot addition to the existing building and construct a 20,000 square foot detached accessory building at Schooner Drive. I will not specifically go through the height and bulk standards, but they are in the ordinance and they've been reviewed, and the findings are that the proposed addition is compliant with the township's height and bulk standards for the M2 district in the zoning ordinance. Property is zoned M2, and the activity at the site falls under manufacturing and processing light, which is a permitted use in the M2 industrial district. And in addition to that, the fabric structure is considered an accessory building, which is also a permitted use in the district as well. Regarding site layout and truck circulation, the site layout is primarily existing, and in the site plan, they had made sure to maintain a 24-foot wide access road around the entire building. So not only will that adequately allow for fire trucks and emergency service vehicles to get around, but it'll also provide for sufficient truck circulation on the site. As the applicant had indicated, the elevations of the addition are designed to match the architecture of the current building, so due to this, staff has no further comments. I will indicate that the accessory structure has been described as a fabric type structure. It's going to be a steel frame structure with fabric siding, which is going to be anchored into the cement pad that's on there. When the building permit is applied for, they will need to provide additional information, but at this time, there's nothing in our zoning ordinance which would prohibit them from doing that on commercial industrial properties. For parking and loading, with Constellium and a lot of the other industrial sites that we've considered in the township, the Planning Commission has authorized a modified parking standard, which is one space per employee on the peak shift plus enough spaces to cover shift change. So it's usually double the parking spaces for the shift change. This is the modified standard that for Constellium, which has been used in the past, and this is the standard which is currently proposed. Based on the prior approvals from the site, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the modified parking standard. And in addition to this, the applicant has provided sufficient barrier-free parking for handicap spaces and loading spaces as well. So one of the things that we're going to ask in the recommendation for approval is that the Planning Commission approve the modified parking standard, as they have in the past. For site lighting, the provided photometric plans indicate that the proposed lighting additions do not exceed the 0.5-foot candle requirements at the adjacent property lines, and the cut sheets for the light fixtures depict the full cutoff light fixtures which are required by our zoning ordinance. So based on this, they're in compliance. Item number 2 talks about the tree removal permit, but if it's okay, I'll briefly touch on it as part of my review for the site plan review. I've reviewed the tree removal plan as well as the landscaping plan for compliance with this section of the ordinance. The vast number of trees which are proposed to be removed are actually what we consider removable tree species as part of the zoning ordinance. So they're a lot of silver maples, a lot of cottonwood trees. The applicant will be required, however, to place 16 of the trees which are being removed, which do not fit under this new removable category. The applicant has sufficiently demonstrated these replacement trees on the site plan and the replacement trees are adequate size and permissible species. So due to this, staff is going to also be recommending approval of the tree removal permit for this project. Regarding the township's landscaping standards, actually many of the landscaping and screening standards were originally met with their most recent 2014 addition to the building. We changed our requirements as part of the zoning ordinance update last year, and the applicant is adding the required shrubs and ornamental trees to the frontage area of the landscaping. So they are compliant with those minimum frontage landscaping requirements. We've also reviewed the minimum parking lot size area for landscaping and the required tree plantings. We've also determined that the proposed site plan is compliant with this area as well. So based on that and based on the review of those areas and screening and buffering, the applicant is compliant with the township's landscaping section of the zoning ordinance. One of the advantages of them putting the detached accessory building on the site is actually there's currently on the site outdoor storage of plastic totes which hadn't been accounted for on the previously approved site plan. I know in speaking with the fire marshal and speaking with the applicant, their intent is to take those outdoor storage and actually move them underneath the accessory structure, which would resolve an issue regarding our zoning ordinance compliance and would also make it more compliant with the fire marshal's fire circulation plan. So this is actually going to be correcting an existing violation on the site as it gets constructed. Now, the last item that I wanted to highlight is with regards to the accessory building. Just because the accessory building standards are a little different, they're going to be based on the zoning ordinance amendment, which the Planning Commission had passed a few months ago. So the proposed accessory building is compliant with the standard and the zoning ordinance amendment the Planning Commission has forwarded to the Township Board. However, the zoning ordinance amendment has not been fully adopted by the Township Board as of yet. The first reading of the ordinance amendment was approved by the board a few weeks ago, and the second reading is scheduled for the May 15th, 2018 Township Board meeting. As it's still working its way through the approval process and still needs to meet publication requirements to be compliant with the Zoning Enabling Act, staff is going to make the recommendation that final site plan approval be contingent upon the Township Board approving the second reading of the zoning ordinance amendment. So what we did in our review is we reviewed the current accessory building based on the standards in the new zoning ordinance amendment. So if it does get ultimately adopted by the board, we can ensure that the proposed accessory building is compliant. Looking at the height and bulk standards and the required setbacks, it does meet all of those minimum standards that are outlined in the ordinance. One item to bring up and discuss potentially is that regarding the proposed size of the accessory building, under the new zoning ordinance amendment, the Planning Commission does have the ability to exceed the maximum lot coverage standard of 4,800 square feet using the same approval process as a principal use. In this case, because the manufacturing and processing light is a permitted use, the Planning Commission has the ability to approve an exception to the 4,800 square foot standard with a simple approval. However, the only recommendation that we'll make is that it be specifically called out in the motion, and that'll be based into the recommendation. So with that, based upon the comments and findings in the review letter, the engineering review letter, and the fire department review letter, staff is recommending final site plan approval of the plans with the following considerations/conditions. The first one is that approval is conditioned upon the Township Board approving the zoning ordinance amendment to modify certain accessory building regulations. Item number 2 is that the Planning Commission approves the modified parking standard as mentioned above. And that item number 3 is that the Planning Commission approves the 20,000 square foot accessory building which exceeds the maximum lot coverage of 4,800 square feet. If there's any additional questions from the Planning Commission, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Good job. If it's all right with the commission, we'll go to the engineer's recommendation. Mr. Pavlik?
Thank you. Good evening. We reviewed a set of plans, of construction plans and final plans dated April 11th. We also issued a previously approval for preliminary February 27th. So in addition to those comments we have here for construction and final site plan. And by the way, Mr. Perry, I do owe you updated REU report that I got, that Oakland County issued. I don't know if you have that yet, but we did check the REU values. They're a little different, but it's essentially the same, so it's actually a good thing. So our comments are minor in nature. We recommend approval of the construction plans and final site plan. And if you notice the conditions on there, before we schedule a construction meeting, a pre-construction meeting, you have to address those. We do want to see them on the construction plan notes, so if you take the approved construction plans and revise them to reflect these comments, we just want to make sure the contractor out there has the latest set after this, okay? With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We also have a recommendation from the fire marshal. Anything to call out on that, Director Akers?
The only item to call out with regards to the April 13th letter is that the fire marshal did recommend approval with exceptions, and the one exception is that the addition maintain minimum radio signal strength for fire department communications. It has to be maintained at a level determined by the fire department. So they're gonna be doing these tests as they're going through the building when they're doing building inspections. They're recommending conditional approval.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments from the commission for the applicant or the engineer or staff? Anyone? Okay, I have a couple questions. One, for the applicant, could you just explain a little bit to me about the fabric accessory structure? Because I'm not familiar with that as a construction material. And I think I get where you're going because of the outdoor storage and temperature, but I just want to learn.
Yeah, so it's a steel structure
Okay.
inside, basically bolted to the concrete.
Okay.
And then over that is a fabric, and so it's an unheated space, and it can be disassembled and shipped somewhere else readily once, they determine they have no more use for it. So it's pretty flexible.
Right, and what kind of fabric, I don't need to know like specifics, but just,
I really don't know. That's,
Okay.
somebody else is taking care of that.
Okay.
You see it on my drawing there, but that was just what,
Right.
the plan and the elevation of it, but exactly.
so it is being used within the industry.
Yes.
Other places have them
Right.
successfully, have high winds and the crazy kind of weather we sometimes get, and
Right.
everything's fine.
Yeah.
All right, is it lit?
Yeah, well, yeah, that'll have lighting inside.
Okay, and the outside, is there additional lighting on the
No,
outside?
no.
Okay, I didn't see it on the photometric
Right.
plan, so, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the lighting that's inside will obviously be lighting down onto their,
Right. Will it-
storage.
Will it glow when it's lit from inside? I'm just trying to picture, I'm gonna have to invite myself
sure there
over,
will
I
be.
don't get it.
When I look at their rendering, yeah, there's a little bit of a,
Okay.
it kind of looks like it's
I'm trying
glowing,
to
but.
picture in my head, what is this thing gonna look like?
But if I remember correctly, in previous discussions, they're gonna have motion sensors, so when nobody's in there, the lights are gonna turn off, so,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think you have to worry about light spillage bothering neighbors in that location, but just
Well, it's
interested.
certainly not gonna, you're not gonna drive down the road and go, oh, look, there's
Oh, a
something over there,
UFO! Right.
like the big tire on 94 Don. It's
No,
nothing like that, so.
I just hadn't seen it proposed before, so I was interested to know a little bit more about it. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Mhm.
I think I have a couple questions to the engineer. Could you talk a little bit about the expansion on the detention basin? And I also want to make sure that we're all good with the Denton drain easement. Is there a movement of that, or it's just creating an easement in a different place on the site?
No, actually, I have your letters here. There was regarding the dent drain there's a letter dated February 12th from Wayne County addressing those questions where they wanted the easements noted. And then there's an approval letter dated March 17th. And again, they want those, they approved the drawings, and a condition before construction is that those easements are recorded. And that's essentially addressing the county's concerns with the drain. Regarding the expansion of the stormwater detention basin, they are expanding, as you see on the shaded area on the top there. And it's a pumped stormwater basin, so again, going through Wayne County's review too, we usually mirror whatever they're gonna go through because it's essentially the same ordinance. And so they've received approval there, and we had no further objection or comment on that.
Okay, great. Thanks. Anything from the audience? Mrs. Otzman, do you have any questions or comments? No. Good. All right. Anything else? Are you ready to take action? Oh, I'm sorry, Director Akers.
The last comment that I'll make is with regards to the fabric structure. They are going to have to satisfy the building official to make sure
Oh,
it's
well,
going to be adequately.
yeah, right, of course. Good.
So that will be something that'll be addressed internally by our department.
Great. I guess I should check with you. Anything in the recommendation letters that's flagged for you all, or everything's good?
No, we're good with all the review comments, and certainly we'll take care of all these as soon as we have approval and get the budget coming back out.
Great, thank you very much. All right, Commissioner, are you ready to take action? Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Boynton?
I move that we grant final site plan approval to the applicant Constellium, who is requesting final site plan approval to construct a 50,551 square foot addition to an existing industrial building and to construct a 20,000 square foot detached accessory building for storage located at 6331 Schooner Drive, Van Buren Township, Michigan, which is on the south side of Michigan Avenue and east of Denton Road. Subject to the letter dated May 4th of 2018 by township staff, specifically to the recommendations that one, approval is conditioned upon the township board approving the zoning ordinance amendment 04-03-18 or 4/13/18 to amend the zoning ordinance to modify certain accessory building regulations. Recommendation number 2, the planning commission approves the modified parking standard mentioned in said letter. And recommendation number 3, the planning commission approves the 20,000 square foot accessory building, which exceeds the maximum lot coverage of 4,800 square feet. Also, to the letter of Fishbeck, Thompson, Carr, and Huber, our township engineers, dated May 3rd of 2018, the recommendations set forth in that letter, and also from our illustrious Fire Marshal David McAnally II of his letter dated April 13th, 2018. He's going to say something about that.
You'll hear.
Subject to the recommendations in that letter as well. I believe that covers everything.
Great, thanks. We have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
Commissioner Kelly, support. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, gentlemen, looks good there. Let's jump right into item number 2, which is the tree removal permit approval. The applicant Constellium is requesting a tree removal permit approval to construct the 50,551 square foot addition to an existing industrial building and to construct a 20,000 square foot detached accessory building for storage. Property is located at 6331 Schooner Drive, Van Buren Township, south side of Michigan Avenue, east of Denton Road. We have had a recommendation from township staff. If the applicant has anything to add on tree removal permit, we'll hear that now.
Well, if you have any questions, I would certainly be happy to answer them. I brought the tree removal plan. I guess I should put north up. Showing the trees, it's in your set that are to be removed. As were indicated in staff's review letter, most of the trees on the site are removable species that are not counted, and the 16 that we did need to replace, we have included in our landscape plan. So if there are questions, please ask.
Thank you so much. Anything else, Director Akers, in what you've already said in your review letter? Any questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Well, it seems pretty straightforward. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Kelly?
I move to grant applicant Constellium the requested tree removal permit to grant the removal of the trees subject to the findings in the letter from staff dated May 4th, 2018, and any of the conditions stated therein.
Great, thanks. Is there support?
Support.
I'll take support from Commissioner Jarr. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion is carried. Gentlemen, we'll keep our fingers crossed that the Township Board resolves their questions on the accessory structure ordinance, and you'll be in construction fairly soon.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your continued success. We are to general discussion in tonight's agenda. Anybody have a general discussion item they want to bring up? Mrs. Oxman, anything? If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Boynton?
Support.
Support Commissioner Kelly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, we're adjourned. Good job, everyone.